planning to play a video in Zoom and you want a decent frame rate, there is an option when you share the screen where you can share, it specifically says share full screen video. It becomes a lower resolution, but you get a higher frame rate. So if frame rate is important for you, check that button. If you want to make demo a software, it's better to not check that because you get full resolution. There's not so much moving. If a lot of things are moving, check the box. If a lot of things are not moving, don't check the box.
Thank you.
And now I'm live.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from London, it's 3DS Meetup TV.
Hello.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to our once again virtual 3DS London. Want to say thank you to everyone who is joining us tonight and who is tuning in, and to all our presenters and speakers and panelists and mixologists and everyone. We have once again a great lineup of people here. And let's get started with the great night. And yeah, thank you again. Hope everyone is well and healthy. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
I'm in desperate need of a haircut, as you can see.
I think that's everyone now.
That's booked for next week.
I was just looking at the startup, what my hair looked like before the lockdown and what it looks like now. It's quite remarkable.
It's more the beard. You've got that serious beard going on there.
Well, the moustache is out of control, of course. So
Otherwise, you can fly to Sweden. We don't do that much of the lockdown stuff, so our hairdressers are still open.
I thought you meant fly to Sweden via my moustache. So.
Oh, yeah, that works too.
I've not tried something like that, but hey.
Right. Ioanna, do you want to sort of kick off? Tell people who may not have tuned in. Simon's joined us. Hello, Simon.
Hi, Simon.
Hi. Yeah, so this is once again our 3DS London in virtual space, which is great because I think this is a great way to keep the community going and together. I cannot imagine another Wednesday without the 3DS London, a first Wednesday of the month without the 3DS London, and that's been such a great activity that we could keep on doing. So if we have any news, I am gonna shamelessly plug in here. And oh no, first presenting myself because maybe people don't know me. So I am one of the hosts of tonight's session. My name is Ioanna, and I'm a 3D artist in London, in ink. And I am co-hosting tonight with Nigel and Josh, who are also committees of 3DS London. So we also have Simon, who is the founder of 3DS London here. Yay! We have Tom, who is on committee as well. I mentioned Josh. We have Nikos, who is our mixologist, showing us like sweet cocktails every night. We have Fabio and Jason, who are our panelists and talking about their great challenges they're organizing. They're bringing a lot of fun. Hi, guys.
Hello.
And we have our presenters, which Nigel is one of them. Hi, Nigel. Thank you for presenting tonight.
Hello. Yeah, thanks.
We have Zap presenting tonight as well from Autodesk. Hi, Zap. Hello. And we have Deyan from AsymmetricA. Hi, and thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
So now I'm going to kick off with the news and shamelessly plug my Studio Ink for being on 2 magazines from front page this month. Auto Heroes with another great render of like beautiful white cars, and 3D World as well. So here you go, my news. And also Nigel shared with me that the finalists of the rookies are out. So if people want to see them, I've heard they're really, really good quality of like Pixar quality work. So please go and see them and support those students and not professionals. I'm sure they had like great work there. But yeah, let's kick off with the first presentation for tonight. If anyone wants to add something.
Well, did we not want to talk? Is there any job offers or industry news that anyone wants to share with us?
I haven't heard anything from the
well, for as relevant as this can be, and I'm glad that whilst I'm talking, my dog is barking upstairs. This week's challenge is going to be the last challenge for the summer, and it's a 2 weeks challenge, and it's about modeling a piece of jewelry in 3D. The thing is that whoever is going to win this challenge, we're going to look at their 3D model, and we're going to try and 3D print it together with Costas, which was a guest of the 3DS London online a few months ago. This is going to be the last challenge for the summer because I'm moving from a country to another. Don't worry, Jason and I were working already on the next stage of these competitions, but this is going to be probably after the D2 online that we're working on, which will be towards the end of August. And so if you want, this week there will be Autodesk as a sponsor, so you have the chance also to win a 3ds Max license. There will be other sponsors later on. It's a 2 weeks challenge, so you still have plenty of time to join. What's up, guys? It's and this week we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I can hear somebody else talking, but that's it from my side.
Sounds really, really interesting, especially with the 3D printing. I love this.
And it's going to be a piece of jewelry, so I think that it's a very different type of challenge for
exactly.
Our Archviz crowd.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
it that challenge was advertised on the side of a bus stop somewhere in East London.
Really?
I thought it was appropriate to put Fabio on the bus stop.
Wait, what happened?
You're going to have to watch it back, Fabio.
There he is in the studio.
No, that's me in my live action studio. Yeah.
In the studio, but we could throw you to television. There you are, on the TV.
Nice.
And then let's get Nikos back on. There he is on a bus stop.
Okay.
That's you on a bus stop, Nigel.
No, it was. In the theatre. We thought we'd just mix it up a bit with a few different screens. So you don't all look at us in the typical Zoom style.
We do not have to stay in our bedrooms.
Well, some people, like Ioanna, you're back at work. Who's back at work right now?
Yeah, I'm back at work.
Wow.
So excited.
Well, this is my work, so.
I'm in a blue screen studio.
Yeah, you are.
And you're not using it. Why?
Well, I'm expecting other people are going to use it, to be honest. Yeah. While I've got the camera and talking about jobs, I'm looking to hear from Unreal artists. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm the director at Minmud, and you can see my email on there, I think.
No, but we can push that to the screen later.
Sorry, that's not a very good job description, but please get in touch if you're an Unreal artist looking for work, contract work.
Well, I can do that.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any jobs information or want to share something with us? No.
No.
Okay. Yeah. No, okay. Then maybe we should move on to our first presentation for tonight, which will be by Nigel, and he's gonna speak about 3D design and give us a little bit of hint for the, what was that, the second edition?
That is, yeah.
Yes, very excited.
Okay, so it's I'm not like a consolation prize here, peoples. And I just felt that it might be relevant to bring up that I have launched my second magazine for those, like a cooking show, for those that haven't seen 3 Disciple. This was the first issue that came out in January. The cover image is by Aki 9. It won the CG Architect Award last year, and it features 28 fabulous and fantastic artists and studios, of which I will show you. There's some. It was great. It was was well received. It encouraged me to basically to go out and create the next one, which was launched yesterday. So I'm going to indulge you for a little bit and actually show you the premiere, or the first time. Some people have started downloading it, but I'm going to share with you the magazine, and I'm sure the panel are going to start commenting, some of which have been commenting on some of the images that I've made. So let me just grab my laptop and then just log on to this. So this here is 3 Disciple Volume 2 or Issue 2. We have 29 artists from around the world in this one. It is so everything from the big studios like D-Box, Brick Visual, we've got Neoscape in there, we've got Uniform, a real cross-section of artists. But the work is phenomenal. And I really hope that, plugging their own magazine, that you go out and actually check it out. Of course, what I will talk about tonight is Josh's company. So Josh features in here with some of his incredible work. And if we just let's jump to that. So we can see, and maybe Josh can actually tell us a little bit more about this project, because I just love this. This is Beijing Airport, isn't it?
It's Zaha Hadid's Daxing Airport in Beijing, which we did a lot of work on a few years back. Thanks for putting me on the spot, by the way, Nigel.
No,
as well.
That's what we're all here for, right?
Thanks for the kind words.
But it's also you're doing a lot of cinematic type of work as well, which was great for the magazine. You can see here you're working on Mars, weren't you? And
yes, we worked with Hassel and a guy by the name of Xavier de Castellier, who's done a lot of work on what building a habitat on Mars might look like and how that might be achieved. And yeah, we worked with them to produce a VR experience and also a set of images for their habitat. They were one of the shortlists for the NASA Living on Mars challenge, which finished last year.
Cool. That's enough plugging for you. That if anyone wants to check out more, go get the magazine. But you can see that what we've also got in here is in the first issue we started promoting the Facebook group, the Women in Archviz. So again, we've now got 6 new artists that we're promoting. They come from right around the world. They're fantastic artists. I encourage you to go and check them out. But they also, this issue, were the ones who chose the cover. And so I thought it was relevant because we decided that the cover was going to be a competition. So I got the 6 women to actually judge blind all these fantastic studios who submitted work for the cover. And what was really interesting about the competition is, first of all, Brick Visual went above and beyond the call of duty and started an internal competition amongst all their 3D artists. I think probably inspired by what Fabio and Jason were doing. And it's probably the same artist that there's on a roll of pushing out fantastic work. But we've gone and published the top 10 artists or top studios. The winner was Alt Shift, who won by 1 point, to be honest. And what the judges felt that they wanted to see on the cover an image that they felt accessible, and they tended to steer away from the really complex, really difficult aerial shots done by some of the larger studios. And of course, Josh, with all his bribery of come on, get my image on the cover, it wasn't up to me. So, it was well done to the judges. They did a great job. I love the cover. I think
I want that money back, Nigel, by the way.
It'll be coming into your account. So the other thing about the magazine is this time we are featuring an 18-page cyanide tutorial, which is, of course, the 3ds Max, cyanide are 3ds Max plugins. So it's quite detailed. It's done by myself. So it's quite simple and to actually follow along. But I felt that it was really, really necessary to take our readers right from importing a Revit model to producing, a day and a night shot that I think that you can actually produce in about 2 hours. So why don't I actually show you? So it's done in 7 parts. This is the model that you're going to receive if you actually get the print issue. So you get the model. You're gonna have to texture it yourself, or you could use your own model. But we build it up with using the cyanide plugins, the parametric ones, to lay out and paint things like bushes. You can actually do all your curbs and roads. All the lighting is done using the Illumi plugin. It's pretty much automatic. Layering trees, the trees are provided for you. Put in some nice lighting, building up the trees, and then finishing off with some nice atmospherics. So that is the project. What else is there to say? We also feature in this one a great interview with the team at Chaos. We're calling it Student Ambition because we go right back to when Peter and Vlado met at university and how it was their university ambition that built this fantastic company. So that's in there as well. We also have resources for everyone in the Archviz, and that is all, and unless I actually take you to the website. So if we hop over to the website, it's available now to download the digital copy. You can buy the print copy that is being printed now. Both are available from the shop. Do you want to know how much it costs? So the digital is in euros. It's about €3, and the print version is about 13. So with the print one, you get all the cyanide project, you get all the source files, and so hopefully to selflessly plug our own company, you should be able to follow along on. And of course, all our plugins are available on a 30-day trial. That is it.
There's no, but wait, there's more moment. But wait, there's more.
There could have been, but it's like that's.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a magazine.
I could have really gone over all the studios in there, but it's best to go and
first
check it out.
10 copies will be delivered by hand by me in person when Corona is over.
That's amazing, Nigel. Congratulations.
It's taken me 4 months to do that. People are asking, "Oh, can I be in your next one?" So the next issue will be out at Christmas time.
Wow.
So.
Wow, it's a lot of hard work, we can see.
Well, I think that the hardest challenge is to actually get this community to actually write about themselves, because we're all visual people and we all like to communicate visually. But if you actually try to put down in a couple of, all I'm asking for is describe your studio in 2 paragraphs. And some people were giving me like 4 A4 pages describing everything. I was like, this isn't Tolstoy here. I've got to try and summarize that into 2 paragraphs. So it's I think it's the written skills is something that everyone needs improving.
I thought the challenge would be to get everyone to submit it on time, Nigel.
And then and you yourself included. It's been a challenge, but it's really enjoyable. What I've loved working on this is to actually work with so many. I mean, there's around 30 or 50 people I've worked with to produce this from all the different studios, and then during this difficult time, the enthusiasm that everyone I've worked with, and Jason and Fabio, you're seeing the same thing. It's such a positive community. So that's been fun and driven me to deliver it in June.
Nigel, let me ask you something. Are you doing this by yourself, the magazine? I mean, like, you doing everything by yourself?
Did we not cover that in our interview last week?
I don't know, maybe.
No, it's all self-published. I have an assistant editor who comes in at the end, and she basically goes over all everything with a fine-tooth comb, and it there's someone in the magazine who's quite famous that we all know who accidentally got a very, very famous film director's name wrong from a BAFTA that they'd won, and it's just tight. None of us would actually pick it up, but that's why you have to have a professional editor to.
So buy the magazine if you want to know who it was.
Exactly. But yeah, it's self-published, and no, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Great, Nigel. It's crazy.
So now
it's a
finished,
big undertaking.
Yeah. But I can relax a little bit now, and there are other things that we've got to move on to working on. But so I have a rest for 2 months and then start on the next one. That's me done. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nigel. It was great.
Yeah, thank you, Nigel. Thanks, and thanks for the plug as well.
I can't wait to get it and see all the beautiful work in there. Like, really. Yeah, maybe we should move to then a bit of a cocktail making. We have Zap, who I've heard made a very interesting cocktail for us.
Who told you this?
No, maybe, I don't know.
Nigel been telling on me? Yes.
Okay. Possibly. But what I'm going to do a little, I've got a stupid little trailer for it. So let's kick off, and then we'll play. It is pre-recorded, isn't it?
Yes. So today we're going to try to make a Swedish style rhubarb mojito. This is a homegrown recipe. There's a couple of problems though. This is not the kind of mixing I'm an expert at. I've been playing around for a few decades mixing music and doing these kind of things. Mixing drinks, I do it sort of capably, and nobody has complained much so far, at least not a lot. But am I an expert in this? Absolutely not. So let's see how this will turn out. The next problem is that my culinary skills lie elsewhere. I'm a big fan of making sushi of all kinds, and I'm a tiny bit of a knife nerd. So I must admit that I kind of derailed on the knife choice for this drink mix. For instance, was I going to make my Swedish-made Viking Sun Yanagiba? That's not completely suitable for this task, since it's more a fish knife. I instead settled on taking out my German-made bamboo cutting board and my brand spanking new Perfection Kyoto Japanese-made knife.
Now, of course, a normal day I would sharpen it on my Japanese whetstone, but since this is a limited edition knife and I'd never actually used it before, maybe not that now. Anyway, I'm getting some drinks. Yes, for a mojito you need mint leaves, and of course by the garage you do have mint growing, right? Don't you? So I will pick a couple of mint leaves to use for my mojito, as you do. The smell when you pick them is amazing, and just look at them. Then the next important ingredient, you run into the backyard and you gallop away to where the rhubarbs grow, which is just over here. There you go. And we grab ourselves a stalk of rhubarb. But now, the actual drink. So we need a couple of chilled glasses. That's always nice. Then I'm going to be cheating. Sprite is good enough. I know it should be club soda and sugar and stuff. Sprite is pretty much exactly the same. Is that right? It's a liquid and it's sort of a little bit sugar. As you can tell, I'm not very picky about these things. Alcohol, though, you do need alcohol. So I acquired some Bacardi Mojito. Yes, this is effectively a pre-mixed mojito, so sue me, who's got time for this stuff? So I will pour this in, measuring things? I'm not sure I have time for that either. I need a drink. I don't need to measure things. Why would you need to measure things? That's a waste of time. So, ice, of course, we need ice. It's really hot when I'm doing this, so the ice will start melting immediately, even though the glasses are chilled, which is an epic fail. Now, of course, time for the knife. Ah, yes, my perfection, limited edition, Kyoto. I mentioned that already. Yeah, I did. It's one of the... Isn't it the most important? Anyway, you take your rhubarb and then you use your knife and you slice off the ends because why not? And then I need to get a better angle of this. I'm cutting. Yes, there we go. So then you cut it like super skilled, actually much more skilled than I'm doing here, and you will have very beautiful slices of rhubarb. And we need to distress them a little, so I will slam them with my handle of my knife, so they get a little crushed to release some of the juices and innards of the rhubarb. And then we take, crush it a little more. We throw it in our drinks, and stop tilting camera, tilt back up, there we go. Then just shred up the mint leaves, hopefully evenly, and then agitate it with the real Japanese chopstick, obviously, that you normally use for sushi, and then you have a drink. Cheers. It's raining. And then it starts raining. Clearly, if you want to see me mix more skillfully, join my Twitch stream and see me mix stupid music instead. Much more interesting.
Like and subscribe. You have to like and subscribe. You better frickin' like and subscribe, or I'll come to your house.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
To your house and hunt you down. I'll come to your house, run round and round. I'd TP your house. If it wasn't the case that all the TP's gone due to COVID-19. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Shameless plug there. Sorry about that.
Hey, listen,
That was awesome.
The obvious question is, for how long during the year do you get to use your pool?
This year, quite a lot actually. So Yeah, it's actually usable even in Sweden, believe it me or not.
Well, yeah, but I mean, maybe temperatures are a little bit different for you than they are for me.
So it's been 30 degrees here for quite a while. So.
And so both cocktails were for you then, Zap?
What's that?
Oh, sorry, I said were both cocktails for you, Zap?
Yeah.
Maybe I was thirsty. Yes. Let's say that. Aren't you supposed to make two? I don't know. I only have one here, and all the ice has melted. So.
Nikos, you haven't commented. You're speechless by the looks of it.
That was great. I loved it. That was really very creative.
Knives are important, though. You have to, you have to cut so the cells of the rhubarb get sliced on the molecular level. So.
Where is this passion for knives coming from?
It's the side effect of my passion for sushi, which is quite severe. So if you want to see more of, like, if you follow me on Instagram, it's 90% me making sushi. I'm sorry. Or cats, one of the two. But yeah.
Both are great. So
wait, yeah. Zap, do you cut the cats up and eat them?
No, sorry, I compartmentalize my life.
Okay.
Food, cats, two different things.
I was jealous that was that a teenage electronics gadget you got there as well. I saw.
Yes.
Oh, I want one of those.
Yeah, the funny thing with the OP1, which is this white little synth thingy, its cool thing is almost like a recording studio in your pocket. And my plan was to use it on boring long flights and in airports and in hotels. Let's say that plan failed, so that's why I'm streaming live instead. So
okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen an airplane or a boring hotel in a long time.
Yeah.
Cool. Shall we move on to Zap? Zap, are you ready to get down to business and the presentation?
Sort of. I will be cheating a little because I've sort of pre-recorded that too, in a sense. I will be playing a video and talking over it because, as you see, I'm extremely lazy when it comes to my drink making. I'm equally lazy when it comes to making presentations, especially when I put all the time into making the drink mixing video. So there's that. So that's the wrong video because you already seen that one. This is the right video. Tell me if you see something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna play the sound on this one. I'm gonna speak it myself. So what we done recently now, we just released Swedish Max 2021 Update 1. Which is has some new cool, interesting features in it. And since I'm in the rendering team, I'm gonna basically talk about those things because that's what I do basically. So as you probably know, we made the viewport in Max pretty nice as a real-time rendering engine. So if you want to do simple product shot like this little electric screwdriver thingy, you can do that. But one problem is that the only way to separate it kind of from the background was to use the background blur feature that we have in our environment map. But one thing we fixed now is that the depth of field works correctly in the viewport also, and it's the mathematically correct depth of field. So if you zoom in closer, you get more blur in the background, and if you're further away, it's less blur in the background, etc. Another cool thing that the viewport. All right. So if we put the turn on the ground projection, we have our little drill kind of standing on the ground, but the problem here is that it's not casting any shadows on the ground. You can do it in the rendering, but you couldn't really do it in the viewport before. So now if I throw in like a plane in the viewport, I can actually use the old classical matte shadow material. When you put that on an object in the viewport, it kind of turns on a matte shadow mode that is catching shadows. So now you have the ability to do kind of shadow catching effects directly in the viewport completely in real time. And if you turn on the progressive skylight, you even get, it's subtle in this image, but you get like shadows from the environment when you do these kind of things. It's looking pretty nice. Another feature is that we fixed a thing that was technically a bug. If you have separate physical cameras in separate viewports and you have different settings on the exposure, because in a physical camera, you can have the exposure attached to the camera. You didn't actually see this in the viewport. So what we fixed now is that if you have different white points, different exposure, different vignetting and things like this, this is now correctly displayed in the viewport. So now you see they all look kind of different because I picked different white points for these images for the separate cameras. And I think that the bottom left viewport is using a perspective view, so it uses the global settings as I'm tweaking now. But something like the lower right viewport is a camera view. So then stuff like white point settings is part of the camera. So I'm changing this one. The lower right viewport is changing color. All very fancy. This makes look dev and doing shader stuff even more feasible straight in the viewport without doing test rendering. So what I'm demonstrating here is that I'm putting some noise onto my texture to make my cordless drill dirty. And I can in real time tweak this. This is the OSL, the open shading language that we built into Max, completely translating in real time to the viewport. So whatever you do in the viewport will show up exactly the same in the rendering later. So if you tweak stuff like, we'll say where the splotches are in your random noise here, if I actually render this in Arnold or V-Ray, it doesn't actually matter which renderer it is, you will see the dirt splotches are the same, the depth of field is the same, everything is essentially the same in your viewport and exactly what you get in the final render. So you can rely now much more on what the viewport does for you before you do the rendering. So if you have like an animation like this, you can either just play it or you can use the create preview animation feature and turn up the quality sum and just hit create, and it will start spitting out viewport frames as fast as possible. And in a minute or so, you will have basically a ready-made animation for preview, or maybe even you can send it off to some client for approval, or in some cases maybe even use it as your final result. Another feature is the support for UDIMs in the viewport. UDIMs are textures that are numbered by which tile in UV space they occur in. So you see these are called diffuse 1001, 1002, 1003, etc., which is a side-by-side tiles in UV space. In the past, if I just picked one of the textures and applied it, well, of course, it will look correct for the one part of the object where it's correct, which in this case is for the spacesuit itself, but for the vest and the helmet, it's obviously wrong because it's getting the first texture and everything. So that's not what we want. We obviously want our textures to be on the right place. So what we had to do in the past then was to go in manually and type in the bracket UDIM bracket, but this still only worked in the past in rendering. So rendering would do this. Your viewport will still be this bizarre thing you're looking at right now. But what we fixed now is that, it now works. So now when you type this in, all the right texts show up automatically in the viewport. You don't really have to do anything. But of course, that's a clunky workflow. So we added a button so you can just multi-select the partial UDIMs and it just fills stuff in automatically for you. And it also fills in this list of UDIM numbers, which you can use to decide what UDIMs are actually showed in the viewport, because these can occupy a lot of GPU space. And if you don't need them in the viewport, you can actually say, oh, I only care about seeing the first one or whatever. So you can control that there if you want. But normally you just multi-select and that's it. You're basically done. So in this, we're going to try and just clone this and load in the glossiness texture as well. Attach it and make sure our material is set in glossiness mode. Yes, it is. And then we're just going to do the same with the normal map. So just multi-select it, connect it, and boom, you're done. We have basically our object already done. And again, this is new for the viewport. This is what it would have rendered as like forever because UDIMs always worked in OSL for rendering. It's the support in the viewport that is basically the new feature in this case, and of course the neat way to pick the UDIMs. So here we again see the Arnold rendering compared to what we have in the real-time viewport. Then we have some material improvement. For instance, our new fancy PBR material that we introduced in 2021 has now a displacement slot, because there's a lot of the downloadable materials you can find online, like this diamond plate and stuff, that does have displacement. So that's a good simple addition. And also this little circuit board material has a little bit displacement. These are all like downloaded things I found. I think these are from either freepbr.com, or there's a place called cc0textures.com, which is like cc0 is for the Creative Commons, so they are all like freely distributable. So there's a lot of these things, and with the new PBR materials, it's super easy to use them. You just more or less drag drop them to the right slot, and you're done. Another cool feature we added is that a couple of things that only worked again in rendering now works correctly in the viewport. And one of them is if you drive the name of a texture from another node. So in this case, I have a texture of a TV with the test image on it. But if I connect another node here, which is supposed to compute a texture which is animated, and you can see if I turn the frame number, you see the node in there is moving around. There's some water splashing on a bowling ball there or whatever. The whole idea with this node is that it's supposed to compute the file name. So I hook up the file name, and what happens in the past was in the viewport, nothing. Again, one of these effects that, oh, it works correctly in the rendering, but not in the viewport. What we did fix now is that this feature now works also in the viewport. So I'm tweaking my height width there, which I do. If the dentist office has the TVs on the wrong aspect ratio, I'm the kind of guy who steals the remote and fixes the aspect ratio and turn on off all the motion smoothing crap on the TV. I'm just warning you, that's the kind of guy I am. Anyway, now when we do this, we can see when we animate our frame number, we see it updates also in the viewport. And if we attach the global frame number to the input, we basically get an animated texture that when we scrub the timeline, it's animating on the little TV. I can even hit the play button and see our bowling ball being drenched in water. I don't know exactly why you would drench a bowling ball in water, and that doesn't really look like a bowling ball, but those are details. This is a new feature. You can get basically animations live in real time in the viewport, and it's kind of fun. And that, again, a thing that, yes, it worked in rendering, it now works in the viewport. And what else? Now I don't remember what I'm demonstrating on my video. Woohoo. This is probably something super intelligent I'm showing now. Oh yeah, right, now I get it. Yes, the search. People have been annoyed in the past when you typed MAT up here in the search bar. It just found things that started on MAT. We updated the search now so it does an inside search. So it's now it finds the MAT, which I typed. So it finds the PBR material, shell materials, these kind of things. It makes searching for stuff, because now when you have 126 OSL shaders, there's a bunch of Arnold shaders, there's a bunch of V-Ray shaders, probably, and a bunch of all the shaders, search becomes a really important feature to have. Yes. And then, yeah, that was it for that little video. So I'm going to do a super short live demo, especially for someone in here. Hi, Fabio. Because Fabio had this challenge about a Macintosh, and I entered that challenge, but because Fabio doesn't read his email properly, I wasn't part of that challenge, and I'm highly offended. So therefore, I'm going to take this time to show this off now. So this was the Macintosh, and it was actually using exactly what I was showing in a minute ago, which is basically, yeah, the animated texture going on our Macintosh while we're flying around it basically in real time. And this is all Max viewport. There's nothing rendering. This is completely in real time. And yeah, I have to admit, the version I sent to Fabio had some sexy music to it. You'll have to settle for me talking.
Sorry, Zap, you won. I'll be sending you your 3ds Max license.
Now, whoa, yeah, like I need that, like I need a hole in the head. So thank you. I can print those, but anyway, just kidding. I can't print those. The fun thing with this scene is actually, for me being the shader nerd here, which I am. I'm a shader nerd. I'm not just a knife nerd and sushi nerd. I'm also a shader nerd. So this little thing that is showing on the, this is not just an animation I'm playing. It's not, I mean, I wouldn't do something that simple, right? Because I'm crazy and Swedish. So yes, the dancing guy is an animated texture. And I actually have a special shader here to make him low res. So I can make him 10 by 10 pixels. There you go, 10 by 10 pixel dancing guy, or 200 pixel dancing guy, or I can just set it to 0. Oh, now the Macintosh exploded. Come back to me, Macintosh. There we go. So if I take away the guy, we have this bouncing ball. So what's that? Well, the bouncing ball is actually also a shader, and I have a pixelation mode on that too, so it looks low res, and even have it make it really retro looking checkbox, which makes it look fuzzy in VHS and all that kind of stuff. And this is all just a shader I wrote because I'm crazy in Swedish, but this is what you can do with OSL. You can have these kind of things happening completely real time in the viewport. And if I were to stop this at any frame and basically tell Arnold to render it. I think Arnold is set as the renderer right now. Let's see what happens. I should, with a little luck, get pretty much exactly the same thing, except Arnold chose to render the camera view, but whatever. So yeah, that's probably what I had kind of prepared to show. And I'm willing to take questions as long as you don't ask me the wrong ones that I can't answer. There's probably a lot of those. Like, don't ask me about 3ds Max Indie in Europe. Okay, just don't, because I don't know. I'll be upfront with that. But you can ask me anything else, including about sushi.
What was the middle bit?
What?
No, I'm kidding. Sorry, I unfortunately missed it, so I have no questions for you today.
Thank you, Zap. I think it was very informative.
Yeah, it's this. I'm actually holding another webinar later this month where I'll be showing roughly the same thing. We're actually supposed to have it like a week ago, got delayed. So you guys are actually first showing things. So woohoo! This is a world first premiere kind of thing or something.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah.
We feel special now. Yeah, thank you for doing this presentation. Does anyone have questions for Zap? Or let me see if anyone has questions on our YouTube channel. Your favorite sushi piece, Zap?
That's the one.
This is the question.
What?
Your
Sorry?
favorite sushi piece.
Oh, I actually have invented a sushi myself. Actually, as you saw with my drink mixing, I don't really believe in recipes. I just throw things together by feel and taste. And sometimes I do slightly insane stuff. And this is a hit and miss kind of thing, but I did a real hit. So what I do, you take tuna and you marinate it in some soy and some sriracha, so it's a little hot. And then you have tempura shrimp, and then you make like a roll with this, classic like a California roll. So you have the slightly hot tuna inside, you have the tempura for some crunch, you have a little avocado and stuff inside, and then you have the rice, and then you roll the rice. You let it cool a little bit, because otherwise the next part gets kind of ugly. You roll your rice in finely chopped, extremely bitter, 85% dark chocolate. Yes, I said chocolate. This gives it a very bitter, interesting, contrasting taste to the chili stuff inside. It doesn't taste chocolatey at all. Though if the rice is too warm, the whole thing starts looking like a turd, which is not very appetizing. But if you make sure it's not super hot when you roll it, it's fine. And then I take avocado slices diagonally across it and slice it up. It's ridiculously good tasting. So yeah.
Wow, I didn't expect chocolate.
It's the unexpected ingredient, but trust me, it's freaking amazing. But it has to be one of these 85% like very bitter, no sweetness at all kind of chocolate. But it's awesome.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I'll give it a go. Not really sure yet, but maybe.
Once you go chocolate sushi, you won't go back.
Zap, have you seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
I have, indeed.
How many times have you seen it?
Too many?
I thought you might have.
Yeah.
Might have,
Yeah. I should go watch it again.
Next time you're in London, I'd love to take you for good sushi, but I don't know anywhere in London. I don't know if anyone else does, but there's nowhere amazing in London that I've been to. But so yeah, I'm up for sushi suggestions.
Oh yeah, that'll be great. Once they open.
Yeah.
Somebody on YouTube says sushi night at Zap's house. Yeah, the only trick is that it takes a bloody long time to make sushi. Like I budget 2 hours when I make sushi for like 4 or 5 people. If it's going to be a lot of people, it takes a lot of time. It's very labor intensive. It's fun. It's a craft. It's fun. And if you're like me and start 1 hour even before that, to like sensually sharpening your knives, then, you know.
You do have a little bit of obsession with your knives.
just a tiny bit.
Any kind of passion's good, so I support you.
I have plenty of those.
Great. Thank you very much for your presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Zap?
Thanks, Zap. That was good.
Thank you, Zap.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Now I can relax with my extremely warm and molten.
Is that your first one still?
Yes, I had to do my presentation and then drink.
Yeah. Okay. Fair
Cheers.
enough.
Thank you, Zap. Is it time now for Nikos?
Time for another cheers. Yes.
Yes.
Let's see what Nikos have for us.
Well, last time we had mezcal, and I think that we also had gin, but we never had rum so far in the show. So I decided to go with my favorite by far rum, which is Diplomatico Reserva Exclusiva. Have you guys tried this before?
No.
Very premium rum from Venezuela. It's aged for 12 years. It's very sweet and fruity. I love the taste. It's amazing. If you ask me, you should try it straight with no ice and dark chocolate, as my friend Zap seems to like. Creativity is about trying new things. So the first time I was on a date and I tried this drink and then I had dark chocolate, oh my God, I fell in love with the girl and the chocolate. So it does work. So yes, straight is the answer. And guys, dark chocolate for the ultimate experience. But today is about making cocktails. So I would like to also make a simple but very elegant cocktail with Diplomatico. So I'm going to switch to my bar. I'm going to start playing some music as well, just to get us in the mood. And let's change the cameras and see what I have to make. Okay, so second camera on the go. Second microphone as well. Are you guys give a second? Can you see the camera?
Yes. Look at that.
So we're going to have orange peel, soda, and Diplomatico. Simple but very elegant, trust me. So this is the Diplomatico, an amazing drink. So as I said before, the best way is to have it straight. But if you're going to add some ice, my recommendation is to go with whiskey rocks. I have this from Scotland. They're not going to change the taste, but they're going to keep your drink very chilled. So I always have these rocks on my fridge for a special whiskey or a special day. So we have the rocks. Now I'm going to use 60 ml of Diplomatico. I'm going to try to measure. Oh my God, it smells so good. But trust me, you have to try this with dark chocolate and straight, no ice. So you have the 60 ml. Now I'm going to try to add soda. And trust me, you don't want to add too much. So I'm going to go 30 ml. There you are. Try to have a bit of stir, not so many. Simple, elegant. And then I have some orange peel. My advice, try to use it on the rim of the glass, like this. This is just a small tip. And then I have another piece that goes inside. So this is something very easy to make at home, but very elegant. And trust me, you're going to impress your guests. So simple as that. I'm going to go back to my space. Okay. There it is. Guys, this is a very simple recipe, but very elegant. The orange peel is going to make the taste even better. I have the whiskey rocks and a bit of soda. So trust me, this is like heaven, okay? So try it at home, try it in a bar. Diplomatico is by far the best rum you can find in the world. So cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, that looks brilliant.
It looks really tasty. It reminds me a little bit of vermouth, the Spanish drink.
I like this. I used to, when I go to Spain, I'm always trying vermouth.
Oh God, I love it. I love it. I love it.
I miss Spain. That's the thing about, we need to start traveling soon because we're getting crazy. I miss Spain and I miss traveling. It's a beautiful, beautiful country.
Yeah.
Oh,
how strong is this Diplomatico thing?
It's very strong, but easy to drink, to be honest. I mean, you don't have to go crazy.
Yeah.
Have a very unique taste. And you can feel the cinnamon, you can feel the chocolate, you can feel all these different flavors. It's amazing. And it's very sweet and fruity. So the girls love that. I think you're going to love that drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, when I'm on a date, this is my drink.
Thanks for all the tips and advices. It was great. Can't wait to try this one. Definitely.
Next time I will use this in a cocktail.
Sorry? Oh, look at that.
I have a green chartreuse. This is 55% French stuff.
I never tried this before.
Get the green kind. But it's strong as heck, also sweet as heck. And you can probably make an interesting cocktail. I'm going to invent some now.
Yeah,
pour it in.
Be creative with your drinks.
I need an orange peel and some chocolate.
So I use this in my cocktails. It's Abbott Ale, and you simply open it, pour it in a glass. That's all you have to do. It's really, really easy. Anyone can do it. I recommend.
Yeah, but what knife do you use? What knife do you use? That's the real question.
Nice. So what's next? Where we're going next?
Right.
Thank you, Nikos. Fantastic. I'm going to try one. I didn't try one last month, but I'm going to try this one this month. It looked really good. I like rum.
Yeah,
Nikos,
this one is very tasty.
Where did you get those whiskey stones before? I've never seen those before.
Well, I think that was a present from Pedro, actually. Do you know Kelly is from Venezuela, from Archviz?
Yes.
So when I went to their wedding in Portugal, they had this drink, and many years ago, and this is the moment that I actually found out about this drink. And I fell in love. It's a unique rum. You don't get it easy, but in a good bar, you will definitely find it if you ask for Diplomatico. Even try like a salt. Just try to experience the taste of Diplomatico. It's very rare, unique.
I did say the stones, no, the whiskey stones.
Oh, sorry. It's from...
Hey, but I'm also interested in where you got that from as well.
It was a good story to share anyway. So the stone, I got them from Amazon online.
I prefer the first story.
Yeah, the first story was better.
Thank you very much, Nikos.
No, pleasure, guys.
Oh, yes, thank you very much, Nikos. Always learning a new cocktail from you.
So how many is that now? Is that 4?
It's been 5, no?
Is it 4 or 5?
5?
Hey, Nikos.
Yes.
They sell Diplomatica at Waitrose, so I'm going to get some. And I'm going to have it next month.
Do they really?
Okay. Okay.
Nice.
Next
I
month,
think.
I'm going to wait for that to say cheers to you.
I'm going to do
Yes.
it.
It's definitely a good drink to have in the house. I mean, seriously, it's a unique.
Generally, having drink in the house is a bad thing for me because it doesn't last long.
I
But
wasn't
okay.
doing it, but now with the situation, I went back to it. So,
Okay.
as I said last time, thanks to Nigel, now I'm becoming a bartender. You know, it's my new job.
Well, you know, someone has to. You're
Exactly.
flying the flag for all those millions of people working in hospitality.
Yes, well, I'm learning new things as well.
It's virtually this time.
Exactly.
Cool. Shall we
Yeah, let's
move on? Or should we just
Yeah.
have a chat? Well, what would you like to do?
Well, I think we're really good with time. So if
Great.
anyone wants to share their favorite drink with us,
So
or
you want to chat for like 10 minutes and waste some time or what?
it's just like I like the random chats, especially
think-
when they involve alcohol. Yeah.
I think it's hilarious how Fabio's face is frozen right
I
now.
was gonna say exactly the same thing.
It's actually
It's
pretty
like
funny.
the Blair Witch Project. He's sort of frozen in time. And he's also gone back to 4-3.
There he is. He's back. He's on the phone now.
So
I'm
last,
using the phone as the second screen. So I'm trying to be more productive.
you've got
Nice.
nothing else to do apart from talk to us tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, these live streams are the perfect time to get some work done, you know?
Yeah.
I get really productive around this time.
Right. So we've run out of conversation. So like, you may as well all go back to work then.
I actually did want to say before, like when Nigel, after you were done talking, that if anybody does want to see the lighter side of Nigel, you can check out our live stream that we did with him on the D2 Conferences YouTube channel last week. So
let me
He's an international criminal.
let me apologize for that. I've checked out the stats after Tom's one. I think I'm the lowest viewing figures that you've ever had. So I take that award for absolutely zero people want to tune in and actually listen to me. So I think,
but
you
Nigel,
guys.
I'm going to use the standard like breakup line and say, it's not you, it's me. I think it's us. I don't think it's you. I think it's us. People are tired of us.
No one really wants
actually. I think for anyone else that's listening, I think it's well worth watching. I think you did a great job. So yeah, well done, Nigel, as well.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed that talk a lot.
One point though,
People
Nigel,
need to discuss their prostate, especially on live YouTube channels.
It's going to get the crowds in, isn't it?
And
So everybody who's watching right now, Tom has been on there, Nigel's been on there. Let's make it a race, okay? Everybody go watch Nigel's and see if you can, build it up to like match Tom's, and then we can like start from zero, and then we'll see who's going to win this thing.
Jason, is there anyone in tonight's show who you haven't had on?
Yeah, I mean,
What about Simon?
we should. Josh is going to need to come on. Simon, Nikos, yeah, we got a bunch of people. Deyan,
Everyone except
Ioanna has
you
been.
and Tom, I think, is the answer, Nigel.
Yeah, Ioanna has been on one of our D2 talks, but not on the live show.
I think that someone from this group has to volunteer. Or I could nominate. How about I nominate?
There you go.
I'll go on, but
One
only
place
if you
to
tell everyone
nominate
that you
me.
asked me.
Nigel's making me do it. That could be a reason.
But I would like Simon to talk, to be honest.
Simon says.
Simon says.
Yeah, I'm up
There
for
you
that.
go.
Sounds like fun.
Have a deal.
You've got the founder of 3DS London.
You're committed now, Simon. You can't back out now that it's on international TV.
Yeah. Worldwide.
No, cool. I'm up for anything.
Cool.
I'm not talking about my prostrate though. In me actually at the moment.
I have a hilarious story about kidney surgery.
Oh,
Go on.
oh, you got me nervous then,
And
Zap.
it's more
I was very nervous then, Zap. I wondered what you were going to say.
Is this your own surgery, Zap, or
It was, and trust me, it's a very long story, and you don't want to hear it now.
Give us the abbreviated version. Does it involve your knives?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
No, that's the part of the problem. Okay, super short story. They found something, a tumor on my kidney. They decide to remove it. They throw in a robot surgery. It's going to be 3 days and out. Unfortunately, you have this thing going from your kidney to your bladder called the urethra, not to be confused with the urethra. And their little robot knife decided to make a little nick in my urethra. And then there is a drawn-out story over 6 months where somewhere in the middle, right before Christmas, I was lying on a table where there were 6 doctors. It was one putting a bunch of wires in through a hole in my back, and one putting a bunch of wires through unmentionable places, and trying to find each other in the middle of my body while I was watching all in HD X-ray machine cheering them on. And yeah, and 6 months of misery, which should have been 3 days. So that's the short version. The long version is a lot more gruesome. But
Yeah,
I think
I heard the long version.
I think you might have heard, yeah, over some drink in Utrecht, I bet.
Exactly, yeah.
But it sounds,
Now I have
sounds like you need to get
pictures in
Zap
my
on the
head. Now I've had these pictures in my head of Zap and
Zap.
the sushi and the operation.
Yeah.
And
You will never be able to sleep tonight, Fabio.
probably
And
not.
dancing guys on Macintoshes, which you didn't watch. You're going to have a hard time sleeping tonight.
That's not bad, Fabio. I've still got a picture of Zap making cat sushi in my head. That's going to take some time to get
No,
rid of.
no. Eating their, I was almost going to say eating their pussy there, but that sounds all wrong. Cats here,
Oh my
food
God.
there, okay.
Oh, you've taken it down a notch now.
Oh,
Zap. Come on,
Deyan.
someone else.
No,
Let's
I
get-
said I
let's-
didn't say it. I said I didn't say that.
We've dropped about 20 watches in the last 3 minutes.
We can. Well, it's dropping off, but whatever.
Maybe we should move to like the presentations.
Right, are we ready to? Deyan, are you ready to move? Are you ready to kick off?
I love the cocktail battles. We can carry on cocktail battles and keep drinking. But yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to.
Wait, Deyan, your audio sounds a bit funny, or is that just me?
What happened to the audio?
Yeah, a little.
Try.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, that was a quick trick.
All you had to do was turn your headphones around.
Too many cocktails.
Now you're ready.
No, I love the cocktail battles. Diplomatico is a great drink. I had it as a gift from someone from my team, and it was a really enjoyable drink. And Zap, I love sushi as well, but I've never tried it with chocolate. I haven't been brave enough.
It's a good advice.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it now.
Yes. Okay, well, let's keep on with the presentations then. We have Deyan from AsymmetricA.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to try and share a screen, see if that would work.
Thank you for presenting tonight.
Thank you for having me, and share screen. Please let me know if everything is working.
Yeah, that's working.
Well.
Do you want me to play these videos?
I believe so, because I don't hear the sound.
Shall I just play
Yeah,
the?
it's a bit
Yes.
jumpy as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be
Yeah.
great if you could.
Let me just play the.
I would like to start with the show reel.
Okay, I'll play the show reel to the audience first, and then cut back to you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
Nice.
Very beautiful work.
Thank you so much.
That was really amazing.
Thank you. Well, first I'd like to say thank you to Josh and Nigel for inviting me and actually, dare I say, pushing me to present tonight, because it's been a long time since I've been visiting 3ds London for very, very long years, and I've never presented, but it's great to be here and finally show our work and talk about our studio a little bit. So there we are. AsymmetricA, this is us, this is architectural visualization studio from London. We're based in Southwest London. Yes, hello?
Deyan, I'm sorry, but I think you have presented. I think it was a long time ago, but you presented.
I
think it was when AsymmetricA just started, so it may have slipped your memory, but I definitely think you've been.
Oh, maybe.
I can fact check for you though, but I think you have presented.
Maybe I need to dig deeper in my memory, but
Get the team on it, Simon.
Must have been a long time ago, because I was going to say it's coming to our 7th anniversary at the end of this month, so I thought this would be an perfect occasion for me to show some of the latest work we've done. But
well, I'll check the archives and come back to you. But I think you have.
Thank you. So here we are. This is us. This is AsymmetricA, and as I said, we will be 7 years since we were established very soon, and it's the perfect occasion for us to show our work at 3ds London. And I'd like to say that behind all the work you are about to see, there's a very talented and passionate and hardworking team, and this is us. So I'll just jump into it. I've got a bunch of images first to show everyone. I'm going to go through quite a few of them. I'm not going to stop into each and every project, but I'll try and say a few words of all of them. And at the end, would like to present or show our film that we recently completed on Crescent Bay. Oh, sorry. So I'd like to start with some master plan and aerial images. We're quite, I would say, quite popular for doing aerials, and we're popular amongst our clients, and they all usually come to us with large master plans and large aerials, part of a larger packages of images, but there's always an aerial involved. And we find that through the years, we've got quite good at finding the best, good ways of getting through sometimes complex and heavy models, and getting to visualize all huge aerials, huge area of complex projects. So there is a few combinations of some photography and some heavy models, and these all projects are at different stages. Even though we are involved very often on competition stage, most of the times we get into the visual design development parts of the projects, and we have some marketing images as well. But the most important for us is to capture the location where these projects are around the world, and we try and study where they are, what's the mood, and what's the special for the country or the location or the place where all these projects are, and try and encompass this into blending the design and the architecture and the master plan into where these projects are going to be or are meant to be. So through the years, we found various pitfalls and complications, but at the end, we always find a way to combine either aerial photography or heavy modeling, or study Google. Because there's some of these projects that are clearly non-existent, and not even the surroundings are there, so we have to sometimes make things up. But the most important for us is to grasp a good composition and beautiful lighting, so we can bring these master plans to life and to the best they can look. They also come as a part of a larger package. We don't usually just do one area and that's the project, but they come into combination with different images and street level shots, or a combination of various viewpoints from these projects. As you can see, we try to grasp the composition of what all these projects and how these projects will be presented in a good and beautiful way. So some of these images you might recognize as they have been published in some of the media, and they are used for marketing for various companies. And there's always a combination of problems and difficulties with people involved into the process. This particular image is part of is over the project that we're going to show you our film later. And I'll also, towards the end of the presentation, would like to show you a little bit of how we choose those viewpoints and how we think about which particular camera angles would be good and how we build our work into showing our clients and giving them the choice to select these views. I'm sorry, I think this presentation is probably jumping a little bit too quick, so I'm not stopping into individual images, but I hope that's okay. I've got quite a few to show. And if you want to ask a question or stop on something, yes, please feel free to interrupt me.
I think you're doing great. Keep on going, Deyan.
The selection that I have here is, as you can see, we're moving now into some aerial night shots. So I've very quickly put it into sort of mood, and there are various competitions through the years, some images that could be interesting for you to see. There's a lot of work that we are not able to show that we've done in the last probably 6-7 months that I really wanted to show you, but at the moment we'll have to hold on to that, and maybe we'll show you more down in the pub when the time is right and everyone is back to the possibility to be in the pub. But a lot of different shapes and forms, and we always try to feel the shape of the architecture and feel the form and feel the composition and try to compose an image that helps and corresponds to that architecture and to those forms. Yin and Yang is something that we like to call our day and night shots in our studio. We have started that for quite a long time, and our clients seem to have responded really well to having exactly the same camera position, exactly the same shot from the same viewpoint, but have it into the two settings, a daytime shot and a nighttime shot. So we have done through the years quite a few of those, and I've put just some aerials, and also we're going to go into a low-level shots just to show you how they compare. And I think I guess clients and architects like to show those because in an overall presentation tells an interesting story of how their projects developed from, and then they've seen in a different mood, in a different lighting throughout their life. So you can see some quite large and technically challenging projects, and I can go into telling you a story about probably each and every one of these projects in terms of technicalities and software and models and heavy and computers and crashes. But I'd like this to be just a quick browse through a lot of our work and give a general introduction of our studio and what we do. And maybe another time we can talk about technicalities. But I think we're quite proud with that day and night scenarios, and we always have fun because that makes us think in a slightly different way for each and every project and tell a different story for them. And maybe some of those images you have, well, some of those projects you have seen from in a different light, in a different way, as they've been published, but they might be recognizable to you. But yeah, the trick is to get the life and to tell the story in those images. And you can see, even though we're still on the combination of day and night time, here we will move into showing a little bit of towers and high-rise buildings that we've been lucky enough to be involved with our clients. We mainly work with architects during the competition stage, design development, and quite often we get into the marketing stage of projects, and we have had occasions work directly with developers and on final marketing images as well. But majority of our work is that I'll show you tonight is the more creative part, or maybe the more early stages where we're involved in competitions, and we are asked to explore and to give the project life and to give the project its vision since the start. And a lot of the times we do these images and they come back with a lot of updates in terms of design. But most often we keep the mood and the lighting from the very first start, or almost from the very first work in progresses. What I would call an usual point of view, although that might be quite a normal point of view from a human point of view, but not so much from a visualization point of view. As visualizers, we always want to keep the 2-point perspective and straight verticals, but quite often we do a 3-point perspective in our work, and that gives the project a bit of dynamism, even though sometimes it's quite daunting and scary. And even Josh has questioned our decision of having this 3-point perspective, particularly on the previous image. I think he's seen and said, "Oh,
man, you always question me whenever I show you an image that's not 2-point perspective."
Well, there you go. We have a straight on, blank in the middle, symmetrical 2-point perspective. A strong image with a nice reflection. So there you go. So I think every project has a different, every composition on every image has a different story. It has a different story. It can be very powerful, strong, lying in the middle, symmetrical, or we can go for something more dramatic and 3-point perspective, unusual. And it also, of course, this conversation is to be had with our clients and architects and everyone, and it depends on their clients as well, how conservative they might be, how brave they might be in terms of viewpoints, or even design, or even a setup of the mood. I mean, you can see quite a dark image, which sometimes is unusual, many times is unusual. So I'd like to explore a variety of moods and atmospheres, and we want to work with, we'd like to work and understand the form and the shape, the composition of how these objects and elements architecturally are put together, listening to the story of the architects and try and bring that story into the image itself. And a lot of times we get not very detailed models, but at least we get quite a good detailed verbal brief, and then we are left with those models to think, create, explore. I mean, this particular image has not so much detail in the context, but it doesn't really matter in that occasion. You can see as well quite symmetrical and middle compositions, but sometimes you can see quite asymmetrical and off-centered composition. So there isn't any rules, as we all know. There's no really rules. There are rules, but the rules are there to be understood and kind of used in a way that they work for us. But with the years, we build that understanding, and it's not so much to comply to the rules, but have them to know when, have the inner sixth sense to know when things are not particularly working visually. But again, we're also lucky to have unusual forms and shapes in our projects. And also we are lucky to be left to work with, to propose different moods. And you can see here we have a series of, let's say, I call them 4 seasons, because we have a winter image and we have a spring image. And on many occasions we ask to present different seasons, different moods, different stories for projects. And we have a summer image, as a story of a holiday master plan into the mountains in the summer. And then we'll have an autumn image where it's part of the same master plan, but it's in a different hill into the same complex, where we said, oh, this would be, and the location of this particular project was very beautiful, and it has 4 seasons. So we explore that in our work. On many of these master plans, we have a lot of greenery, and this particular one is being in Thailand, in Bangkok. So we have worked and we have explored a lot of how we can present that lush greenery and tell a story just with landscape, and not so much about architecture, but it's about the mood and the feel, and the architecture actually set into a landscape. And again, maybe use different techniques and different moods to represent that, even though these different images are part again of the same master plan, and each and every one tells a different story, as they are in a different end and different corner of this huge project that we have actually worked on big marketing package, but they're still not ready. They were meant to be released last month, but due to COVID, the marketing campaign is being delayed, and we will hopefully be able to show them later in the year, as we're quite proud of these images. And variety of evening shots, night shots, nice curves, which we always try and use and explore compositions with these volumes and water reflection, greenery on rooftops, which also is strange but interesting, and we've explored a lot of ways to make this natural and fit into a nice image without being too obtrusive and scary. But I've paused on this one because I'm trying to catch my story with the presentation, and a lot of occasions we do different options for the same setting. So we have done a different story for this particular project, where there is a huge plaza, and it's not so much about architectural elements, but it's about what happens in that space. And we managed to get a few different stories about that space, which was very quick exercise, and we loved doing that back in the day. And again, we use various different techniques, 3D, 2D, Photoshop, whatever is the best, works the best in the occasion. And we also, along the process, we do a lot of interior spaces and interiors. As I would like to show you, some of them are quite unusual, and I started with the more interesting, unusual spaces with an aquarium and the big atriums. And later, you would see how we usually start with the project, but in some projects, or many projects, we'd get these models and we just walk through them and explore the spaces. And on all of occasions, we find views. I mean, this project, you would imagine that it was just a gray model, and you'll find views and spaces that actually could be interesting. And in this particular one, I remember well that the client really liked that space. It was his design, it was his space, but so I've never thought that our building looks interesting from inside. What can we do with that? And we ended up actually giving ourselves a lot of hard work to do here, because we were asked to actually fill in that space with life and story and design, and we had to come up with various ideas and designs of what these different levels in this big atrium could be. But at the end, it ended up with quite a nice and natural looking image, with everything fitting well on its own and not. And then the next one is the same, it's part of the same project, and quite unusual as well. Rarely you visualize a basketball court or a sports center, but it's more about the story of how the spaces work as much as the design in this occasion. But then we have done an unusual gym session, gym space where you can go for a gym session after work and have a workout. Another unusual space is an indoors ice ring with interesting and powerful shapes. And again, we need to bring that to life. A lot of vertical spaces where we like to use lights and depth to enhance these spaces, to bring those spaces to their beauty and to looking interesting. And then other aspect of these commercial spaces are people. And as in the previous image, you'll see that's a big market hall full of people. And we're so used to look at images with people, but it is actually an important part of our job is to make sure that these people are well composed, well positioned, and well in terms of what their story is, how they move around the space, and how they are using the space to feel natural. And that is tricky sometimes, but once we get it right, it looks very natural and helps that space to feel real. And as we get involved in commercial interiors as well, and with quite a few of our clients that we work well, and these are some commercial interiors of office buildings and office spaces. And through the years, we've been lucky to actually see some of those buildings being built. And another part of this presentation is I'll show you a few occasions where we have our renders put against these commercial spaces and these interiors of these buildings that have been built at the end. And even for us, it was fascinating to see how close our images look to the photography, the professional photography taken at the end of this whole process that we're part of, we're a small part of. And also there is a few residential and kind of smaller, more intimate spaces where we still pay attention to each and every detail, bring the light to it to make it look almost as you are part in there and you're part of it. You can see these ones are more empty, less people, but because they're residential, you feel more natural and more into the image when it's yourself, your first person looking at it rather than full of different people. And I've plugged in a little animation here, a little cinematograph. And this is what I call the unbuilt when it gets built. This is our visualization against the photography of that project. We have done quite a few, but I only included one. Don't want to bore everyone with too many images. And again, the left is the photography and the right is our CGI. This was a very interesting project we did a few years ago, which is in central London, Old Session House. The reasons why we did these images is the whole building was in scaffolding due to be reconstructed, and it went through a few years of restoration. So our job was to show the client how it's going to look, or how it's going to be brought back to its former glory of being a Victorian building again. And the next stage that I would like to present and show you is, as I said earlier, is how we approach a new project on quite a few occasions, not always, but on many occasions we have discussions with the architects, and they come to us and they say, we'd like to see your point of view. Can you please give us some ideas? And we have this usual discussion of what's the brief and how many images and what are the viewpoints, etc., etc. And through the years, more and more often from a few of our clients, we get the no brief, which is when they say, here's our design, here's our model. Can you please have a look and see what you think and how you can, you can find some nice views. And of course, this is the more difficult part from our work, from our job, is when instead of you being given, oh, we need 6 views and we need these point of views. You have to start exploring and thinking. And even though it takes more time and more effort, I believe personally that this is more fun, it's more exciting, and it's more creative and gives different opportunities along the way. So this is a set of first view studies of this project that we did a few years ago. I think it was a competition, and this is how we start. We start with a bunch of view studies. I think the brief was one area or 1 or 2 areas with some of the interesting spaces along that complex shaped complex of buildings. And then we had another second series of view studies after a close conversation with the architects. Some of them they responded well to, some of them they were not, there were parts of the project that we haven't picked on. So we went back to explore a little bit further. And I know this is probably the more difficult part, but I believe in this way, it opens up opportunities for creating nice or beautiful views and different views, and sometimes not missing opportunities in projects. And later, we have a selected viewpoints based on various discussions, not only which viewpoint is good or beautiful or successful or interesting or well composed or lighting is interesting, but as you all know, there is a client of our clients that could be conservative clients, or there is a restriction in terms of numbers, in terms of budgets, in terms of numbers of views, or there is a particular story that the design is telling that some views support and others, even though they might be beautiful. For example, this shot here was a shot that was favorite of mine. It doesn't support that story, so it just drops off. And at the end, on our next stage, 3, 4, we end up with a set of final images to be taken to the final presentation. And this was one occasion. I prepared another project in a similar way to show you again. We had started with the first view studies, the first set of exploration of cameras, and also you can see some cameras here similar, exactly the same, and then we have different tests of moods and lights and opportunities. Again, a few different areas, trying to think of a different story around it based on the brief, based on the volumes and buildings themselves. Then we find in the conversation a selected views, 5. Again, there were other favorites of ours, and there were some favorites of clients. There's always reasons behind it. And then we end up with the final views through that process. This is something that through the years we've found that it works for developing. There's also putting our and something that they would like to, they would actually feel that they connect to and they could use to present their work in a good light. So at the end, I've left our final piece to present is the Crescent Bay film. This is a project that we have been involved for quite a while with a good client of ours and actually a friend of mine through the years, Chris Aspinall. He's the architecture director of this company, Urban Limited, developer of this project. And we were lucky to be involved in that project, and I would like to show you how the film looks at the end. I will try to play it here, but maybe Nigel, it would be better if you play. That would be great. That would be great if you play it straight from there. Thank you.
Shall I just play it then?
Please. Thanks.
Right, here we go. Amazing.
Thank you so much. So yes, this is us. This is our studio, AsymmetricA. I'm sorry, I felt like I rushed through everything too quick. I've put 10 seconds per slide. Maybe I should have put more. If there's any questions, please ask.
Do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Okay. Hello.
There you are.
Very beautiful work.
Thank you so much.
Amazing, Deyan. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done.
Lots of questions. There was so many. I mean, that's like half the world you've just shown us there in your renders. Do you want to sort of explain the process? I mean, you went over the visual process, but how long do you allow for a project of your average project of that scale? Is it a matter of weeks or months? Or what do you allow yourself?
You've been much longer in this industry than me, and you know that we can allow sometimes, but a lot of the times it's not down to us how much time a project has. So through the years we've learned to adapt with techniques and technology and tools and tricks in any ways for what project needs. On many occasions we've developed a conversation with many clients where they come to us early in the process where we can actually get the time and budget enough time to develop specific set of projects. But on many occasions it's not possible. So we're able to turn reasonably good competition images with a week of a fast pace, good close conversation with the client, because you need to be able to talk to the client and have a quick response from them. Because no matter how much we have our ideas and we have strong story and all our imagination and things that we want to do, we always have the client that needs to decide what fits with their story and with their project. So anything with 1 week to a package of 4 to 5 images, 2 weeks is always great. But it also depends how fast paced is the communication with the client. You might have the client twice a day on the phone. You might be able to talk to them first thing in the morning, in the evening.
It sounds like you must be working super late hours, Deyan, if you're turning this stuff out in a week to 2 weeks. I think you're advertising surely there's longer projects. Let me say that.
This stuff, there was a variety of stuff. Obviously, I'm not talking about the large-scale master plans that we showed in the beginning, but also I showed a few competition images where we have a closer up areas where they are developed. They could be developed in a week, because you start with a verbal brief. There is a story, there is a building, there is some sort of a nice composition. So that is something that's achievable in that time. But obviously, when we talk about a huge project, there is a much longer process, and dare I say much more painful process, because as you know, you start with initial first, maybe master model. Once you get going and you think, okay, we're on the run, then you get an update and it's changed, and that takes 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. But you know that on week 3, you get the usual, oh, don't worry, but the deadline is not tomorrow, we have another week. So
there's a good question here from the guys at eye level, which just to make sure I get it right, I'll look for it. It says, hey Deyan, what would be your number 1 tip? Oh, hang on, your number 1 top tip for producing such epic master plan images?
Number 1 top tip
for the big master plan stuff. How do you approach that kind of work?
Well, I think it's getting easier and easier in this day and age, because there's a lot more drones, and the use of drones is a lot more accessible to many more people and everyone, really.
So you're saying photograph the crap out of it?
I'm not saying photograph everything.
Pick some good stuff from the shoot.
You can't always photograph everything, you know, especially if you're in London. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, look at photography and drone photography or aerial photography. You get much more access to things like that, and look how this photography looks and try and get the general colors, tones, feel, and atmosphere into it. And even if you put a basic cube models with a few greenery and everything, try and get your colors, tones, atmosphere, lighting right, and match it into your area, even if you just print screen Google Earth image, and if you can.
I like this idea. You're saying do your research and
do your research,
understand the location.
Always, I would say, always in an image is composition, lighting, colors, tones, and try and look at more and more photography just to get your brain to get used to looking at realistic images. Because even if you can't say why, sometimes when something's not right, you know it's not right. You might not be able to pinpoint it, but because your visual brain and visual references in your head with the experience and looking at a lot more real photography, or hopefully good photography, then your mind.
Do you ever visit the sites, Deyan?
Yes. Wherever it's possible, we have. And for the animation, for the film that we did, I actually went on site with 2 drones, and I was there for 3 days to do all the filming and the photography. I was a little bit unlucky because it was overcast for all these 3 days, but I think we still managed to get some. We had so much footage. We had actually a week. Now going back to how long it takes you, we had just a week to go through the footage, to look through it, and then make a general selection of what could be an interesting point of view, an interesting footage to look at. But yes, we do go to site where it's possible, where there is a possibility to travel, or if it's London, obviously it's easy because we're London based, or anyone around the UK, it's much easier to get.
I don't think a lot of that work looked like London.
I've never been to Saudi Arabia. I've never been to China. I wish I want to go. I like traveling. I would go anywhere. Just get me there. So.
We have another question. What do you use for your cars for doing your long shots or aerial views? I suppose that's to do with animated cars.
Animated cars. Have we had animated cars? We have some animated cars, yes, I guess in the film. We, especially for aerials, we try always to use low poly models of cars. And we have created libraries for daytime and nighttime. So we have presets for nighttime cars, daytime cars. And for close-ups, always we try and use high poly models.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to take questions from the audience?
People, cars, people, trees.
I'm wondering about, like, when when a client contacts you and says that they want to work on a project and you've got 1 to 2 weeks or maybe longer, how do you develop the creative behind the project as a whole? Well, I mean, you talked a little bit about images and how you drive the creative of an image, but how do you drive the creative of a project? Or does that come from the client? You already said that they don't really give you much of a brief. How do you drive the creative?
Well, this conversation, when you start a conversation with a client, it's usually, who's your client? If it's someone that we've worked with before and have a relationship, then you're able to ask many more questions than if it's a first-time client. First-time client is still tiptoeing around and trying to feel what's going on. If it's someone that you've worked with before, you're very quick into what's the project, where is the project, how conservative is your client, what are the constraints, how much time we have, and then let's see, do you want us to look into something, or have you got a brief that comes directly from your client? So I ask all these various questions to try and understand and trying to see how these constraints that we have will narrow or will open. And then from there on, we'll see if the constraints are wider than, and then you start thinking, okay, we'll have a little bit more fun, or we'll have a little bit more work to do. So there's these questions with the experience of years that I'd like to ask to try and understand where our boundaries are. And that determines the time that we have to work, and determines the size of the team that we have to use, and then how creative we can be. If there's no time, don't ask us to get creative. Give us what you want, and we'll make it look good. But if there is a little bit more time, then we're happy to explore. We're happy to go put our creative hats on and have a little loud music and go and do some view studies and some dramatic shots.
You and I are always working with other people's designs. How much creative do you think that as visualizers we get to actually put into the project?
I think we get enough creativity even if we're given other people's designs, because there is forms and shapes and ideas and a story as well, but you bring these designs to life, and that's the fun part of it. And that's why I love the first steps, the first view studies the most. The first and the second view studies are my passion, is where I get to stay late. And
that's your bit.
That's where I get excited a little bit, and start to play. But this is the creative side. Is everything around the project is down to us, right? You can make it daytime, you can make it nighttime, you can make it a romantic sunset, a beautiful stormy night.
Unless they say I want one autumn, one winter, one Christmas.
Well, people wouldn't even say that unless you give them the chance, because in that particular project with the 3-4 times of the seasons, it came from us, and we played. I think one of the guys had an autumn shot, another guy had a daytime shot, and someone had a winter shot. So at the end of the day, we collect everything that we had a play with, and we say, oh, I like that, let's propose. So it becomes a little pitch from us. But again, this is where it's possible. As you know, there's majority of our projects are strict, and people know what they want, and the clients have already been through the process and they have chosen something specific. So
the clients never know what they want. I think I love the view studies that you showed us. I thought that was a really nice thing for us, for you to share with us. And I wonder, do you show all of those view studies to the client, or is that just a selection? Did we see all of those view studies, or did we only see the client selection?
You saw all of this particular project. There was a third project I wanted to include, but I thought it was going to be too much. You saw everything that we've sent in the view studies one, and I didn't have to. I was actually finished the presentation just an hour ago, and an hour before the beginning. So what was sent to the client, I just dropped to the presentation at stage 1, stage 2, and it's not with every client. As again, sometimes you be given that opportunity, which is a double-edged sword, because you end up doing quite a lot of work. And the difficult part in that is that whoever's, me, myself, and the guys, everyone, we get emotionally attached to even one image.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's not selected, the danger is that then the mood of the team goes, oh.
You get client fatigue.
But then they didn't select my image, and then how am I going to carry on then working on these very difficult, hard areas where they get a few iterations of comments. So that's a dangerous part there.
I'm only going to ask you one more question, Deyan, because otherwise it's going to seem like I'm grilling you on a mobile phone. Has anyone ever asked you to put the lights inside the building on during a daytime image?
All the time. Can we have a what is it? The golden sunset, but the building is on. I mean,
what do you do with that in those situations? Do you give them the image that they asked for, or do you just ignore them and carry on trying to do the best that you can?
We try and talk, we try and explain, we do our best to explain and talk and explain, and at the end, we keep a version for us and we do what.
You need volumetric lighting with the glow bursting out from
I hope none of my clients are watching tonight, because I've probably just blown my cover.
So I
Thank you very much, Deyan. Amazing stuff.
Oh,
Off to
thank you, Josh.
Simon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Deyan. Brilliant. Cheers.
Thank you, Simon. I appreciate it.
Did you find out when he presented then, Simon? Have you been down in the dungeon looking
No,
at the
yeah.
archives?
So I had a look, and I think, Deyan, I may owe you an apology. I don't think you have, but I think what I remembered is you standing up at the beginning of the evening when you started out and saying, "This is us. This is what we're doing." I definitely remember seeing AsymmetricA on a screen. So there you go.
It's possible, but maybe Simon, I think you might have gone even further back in the past. I presented with my previous company back in the day, but that was maybe 10 years ago.
It could be, yeah. Shh, don't tell anyone how old we are. Keep that one to yourself. I was just going to say, Josh, I had a boss, and he insisted, who I respected very much. He was a fantastic man, but he insisted that every image that we did, the glass was lavender tinted, because he hated that blue-green glass thing.
Wow, I've not come across that.
It made everything look really weird, and in the end, we just ran with it. And when I moved companies, I can remember like the first couple of weeks, they were like, "What are you doing with the glass? It was really, really weird." And it took me a long time to get rid of lavender-colored glass. And again, all the lights turned on because it was all retail stuff. So they insisted that you could see everything in the shops. But yeah, lavender glass. I don't like being on a bus stop, Nigel. I don't belong there. Find me a nice sushi restaurant. Josh is taking me to a nice sushi restaurant later. Put me in there.
When we get restaurants back, I'll take you to a sushi restaurant. No problem. In fact, I think
it's my turn because you took me to that. You took me to the Moroccan place near your office. So you choose a sushi restaurant, and I'll take you out for a meal.
Can I make a proposal?
Wow. Thank you so much. I know a great one.
You've seen the backgrounds that I've been playing around with. If any of our audience want to create some cool looking backgrounds for us, then please go ahead and send them through, and we'll feature your work on an upcoming show.
We're going to get 3D rendered guillotines, Nigel. It could be awful.
But we can drop these in live. We can play around. I was just playing around with these this morning.
That actually looks like his background is completely made up. I'm still mind blown that that's an actual physical place that he sat in. It looks like the kind of thing people put in their Zoom backgrounds.
I think Zap has been off planet for some time now, and I'm wondering when he's going to come back.
We've only got the one view though. We'll cut around, and it's going to be, this is a complete stage set he's got going on there. I'm joking, of course.
All fake. My camera is hardwired, so I can't rip it out and move it, unfortunately. So I don't know how to prove that this is real. There's a tip.
Is the camera bolted to the desk, Zap?
No, it's glued to the desk, so it's not bolted. So, because it kept moving, and I had my perfect shot. It's double-sided tape. Okay. I could tear it off, but
mounted by double-sided tape. Deyan, there is another question for you in the YouTube channel. Actually, if you're willing to take more questions. Sure. This isn't mine now. I've done enough. From Chaz Flowers.
Chaz Flowers. I think it rings a bell.
I wonder who that is. Yeah. Do you still go out and photograph your 2D people assets, or do you off-the-shelf libraries?
No more going out. COVID-19. No going out.
Do you think is it a trick question?
I don't know. I haven't seen Chaz much lately. We do use a lot of libraries. Wherever there's so many assets these days available, and we use any possibilities. We have used XYZ people in our animation. We use them throughout our distant areas. Obviously, there's very easy to scatter.
If you use loads of library stuff, do you not find that everything starts to look the same? I mean, if you're using all the libraries that everybody else is using, you're going to look the same as the other people. Also, if you're using the same libraries that you used on the previous job, then
I'd like to say that I spot those very quickly, and it does annoy me a lot. So we try a lot to not use or reuse
It's like
reuse and reuse people.
It's like the guy with the bag, you know, that's always the courier guy. That's always, he must have appeared in about 1,000 images or something.
We're guilty as well. I've seen a few images of ours where there have been a few same people, and you know how it is. That's in a composition of the image. There's always a few people that will draw your attention. So don't use them in the same place, in the same scale, in the same size. Put them in the back somewhere. Fill in the gaps. But we use all possible tools and techniques: Photoshop, cutouts, libraries, 3D, anything that we can. All the tricks that we can to get things done on time.
I've got a question here from Thomas. Hello, Thomas. How you doing? And he asks, a quick question for Deyan. How much time do you spend in post-production compared to modeling and rendering?
I personally like to spend a lot of time in post-production, but each and every project comes again with its time limits, complexities, and we always spend some time in post-production. More and more, we have quite good 3D renders and better and more detailed and faster 3D renders, and then a little bit less in terms of post-production. Post-production is very important. It's not so much about how much time you would spend to it. You always have to pay a little bit of attention to get our images right feel and mood. And even if it's a little bit of time, I think it still contributes a lot at the end of it. Even if you might say, I've spent only half an hour to replace the sky and put a nice photographic sky. But if you think about it, on a street level shot, half of your image is the sky. If you get it wrong, it's not really looking good. But if you get it right, that's only 10 minutes spent, but it's the best 10 minutes you spend.
Yeah.
So it's not so much about it. Yeah. So it's not so much about the
time on the floor. It's always a
post-production is important and it's good, and it's not so much about the time you spend, but having always the right idea and the look where you spend your time. 3D is also a big part of our work, and you can get very good, very realistic, very emotional images in 3D. We don't always have to rely on post, but post is powerful.
There's another question on the YouTube channel, Deyan, from Mata Isa, which says, it would be interesting to know how Clarice impacts your workflow, as not a lot of Archviz studios use Clarice. It's interesting to learn about how your workflow is a dance, Corona and Clarice.
Clarice is a great piece of software. It's fantastic. And we've been playing with Clarice for quite a long time. One of our senior lead artists in the studio is learned it inside out and is very good and is in depth with it. I really want to use it in production. It's very powerful, especially for the huge aerials, especially for these huge master plans where sometimes we battle with memory issues when it gets to 3ds Max and Corona, and even though we have 128 gigs of RAM, sometimes we get to fight with that boundary as well. But Clarice, we've used it parallel on a few projects, great results, but we haven't been brave enough to use it on a tight deadline project.
Do you think something like that is the future then, Deyan?
Definitely, it has huge potential, and it's not down to the Clarice's and anything to do with Clarice. It's just us finding out the workflow and knowing the workflow and knowing every step of it and being confident to actually put it into.
Showing the way that manages loading assets.
And I tell you what my worry is. My worry is not anything to do with the software. My worry is on the client side, where we have everything ready, set in the rendering, and everything is put in Photoshop. If Photoshop's ready, you have your massive aerial, 10,000-12,000 pixels. But then comes 2 days before the end of the deadline, and there's something changes. And we need to have the same experience and know that we can actually get it into and get it around it. And I'd like to say that Clarice is on the radar of ours, but we're just finding our way to get it to. We have done.
Well, you know other people that are using Clarice as well, don't you?
We have done quite a few aerials in Clarice in a project that we were meant to release and show a few months ago, but the marketing campaign is delayed to later in the year because of COVID. And these are images that we love. The whole team worked really hard on them, and that they're done with Clarice as well. So unfortunately, we can't show them, and there's a lot of technical background, and there's a whole story behind them that maybe soon, once everything is is over, then we can all get together in the pub and we can give another presentation on that.
Well, that'd be nice.
Zap,
Absolutely.
you've gone very quiet.
I think Zap has replaced himself with a picture. I think actually Zap might be doing air traffic control for someone somewhere.
It zoned out there for a bit. I think he was working out a new tune.
Maybe.
Hmm?
I don't have any working equipment over here though, so I can't play.
Oh, what a
anything.
shame.
Yeah. It's like I planned it that way. No, actually not. I have two different locations. Here is work and there is play, which is not here. It used to be one and the same. I have a bunch of old equipment in here which is not connected and not working. So when I was setting up the new place, I put all the stuff that is working. It's much more minimal, and because everything now is done with a laptop, you do everything digitally, and everything here is analog. But yeah, it's not connected anywhere. It's not working, and it's full of crap on top of it. But there's a lot of vintage synthesizers right over there.
Hmm.
There's one right here, actually. Maybe I can even turn the camera enough. No, it's.
Let's see something, Zap.
So I've got a question.
What about
Zap.
the tape?
Zap. So Zap, have you worked in that? Is that you've worked from home for a long time?
Since 1989.
Is that a Casio VL tone?
It's a Casio VL tone because why not?
Oh my God, I had one of those as a kid, and I've been looking at those on eBay. Right, you and I need to talk about this a bit later. So I wondered how everyone else who isn't used to working from home like Zap, I wondered how you guys had found it. I can see Tom's still in the pub. He's the only one there, but I know that he's worked from home for a long time. But Ioanna, you've presumably, this is kind of new to you. I know that, and Deyan and you guys. How do you find working from home, and what have you done to kind of make working from home a bit more doable?
I find that locking the kids in the garden increases my productivity a little bit.
So my neighbours' kids, they're quite well behaved, but they I can tell when they've just watched Paw Patrol because they come out into the garden and they all start howling for 5 minutes. But,
well, if you're going to work from home for seriously, you need a separate office, especially if you have kids, because that's what I've noticed with my colleagues since Autodesk have gone full remote for quite a while now. A couple of my colleagues that sometimes did work from home anyway, they ended up in the situation, except now the kids are home, so that breaks their entire schedule. Yeah. So you need a room you can lock in that case and be alone in. Because otherwise the question.
Sorry.
The question I normally got when I told people I work from home, I got this question: how do you get anything done when you're working from home? And the funny thing, I only had to look at them deep in the eye and say, how do you get anything done working in an office? And you can just see them go, you're right. So that's my excuse, and that's all.
I think it's been a long time because I used to work at home when I freelanced, and I got nothing done. I got absolutely nothing done. So for me, an office environment works quite well because I know there's someone over my shoulder, and if I'm watching sushi videos or cat videos or something, then they're going to see. So for me, working in an office works really well.
Simon, I support you, but for different reasons. We're started to try and get back to the studio little by little. We're lucky to have people that can get to the studio walking distance and cycling and without using public transport. So we've half of us half day at home, half day to the studio. We're not such a big company anyway, and unfortunately quite a few of us or some of our team are across London, so for them they will have to stay and they haven't been to the office. But I believe that humans are social animals, and especially in our creative industry, I feel so much better when I see my team, when I see people around me, when I sit down, and even if I'm had headphones for part of the day trying to focus and doing whatever, you put the headphones down and you have a conversation, or even you just swear at your screen, but someone says, oh, what's the problem? Oh, well, I've got this. And then, okay, but what about you try that? And you don't have to set up a Zoom call to do this. And it's just a human interaction with the people around you. And I miss that part. It's not the kids. The kids the same age as Joshua. Yeah, kids are difficult.
But to me, it's the distraction, because I'm the kind of person often gets like into the famous zone, and I really.
Deyan's mic just went. Deyan, we didn't hear your last sentence because your mic was just muted somehow.
I'm sorry. What I said, that the kids are, yes, kids are obviously play part in the difficulty of working from home. But for me, the bigger part is being part of a studio, a team, a creative group of people around you to communicate and work with, and bounce ideas and talk about your. I mean, it doesn't have to be always about work. You talk about your life. Just communicate. That is for me more important. And
I mean, at Zap, I'm not saying that one thing is better than the other, but I know that presumably you're doing a lot of programming, and I know the programmers in my office, you know, they come in, and if they want to get any work done, it's headphones on time. That's all they do. So I can see why there are certain things that.
Because you really need to get into this mental zone, and it's like there's a couple of cartoons like Why You Should Never Disturb a Programmer, where you see his brain, the thought bubble just goes bigger and bigger, more intricate, and then a guy says, "Hey, I saw this cool movie last night," and then the thought bubble is back to empty again. You have to start all over, and it's quite horrible. The social part, like we have done in our team video meeting for like the longest times, like daily. So, and we treat them not as technically they're supposed to be our Scrum meeting in Agile terminology, but they're kind of our water cooler session. Our team is kind of famous for being funny, and there's lots of unicorn jokes, and it's all weird. And we're basically enjoying ourselves online. We have a constantly open Slack. Actually, we have 5 constantly open Slack channels with different topics. So there's no lack of social interaction. It's just that it doesn't have to be like physical. It can be like virtual, and it can work, and then you can shut it off when you really need to get in the zone. So I don't know, it's been working okay for me, I will say.
So at my office we use Teams, and Teams has been fantastic. You know, I'm sure everyone's using Teams or something like that, but I think we only introduced it maybe 4 months before lockdown started, and it was great that we did, but that's been a real lifesaver. But I went into my office on Friday, and I actually drove in because I didn't want to use the underground. But they've rearranged my office to be socially distanced, and they've bought quite a lot of high-tech gear. So they've commandeered the main conference room, and they've just stacked up everybody's workstation. And then those are all piped into, I don't know what they are, but they're sort of boxes next to the monitors. So you can choose your own workstation. And I think the idea is that you'll be able to go into the office 1 or 2 times a week. So it could work quite well. But one thing that just as I walked into the building, in fact, as I was walking through Clerkenwell, which was deserted, I just realised how much I missed it, and how much I'm looking forward to getting back to that stage. But hopefully spending a bit more time at home as well, because it's kind of 50-50. I love the working from home, and I've got, I am lucky. I have a nice separate office, and I can shut the door and forget about everybody. I know everyone doesn't have that. There are a lot of people in my company who are struggling. They're in a bedroom or something, and it's less than ideal working conditions. So I appreciate I'm lucky in that respect, but I do like working from home in different ways. So I'm quite positive about what's going to happen for the next few years. I think things will go back to normal, but they'll be slightly different, and people will be companies will be far more relaxed about people saying, well, it doesn't matter where I am if I get the work done. My team within Hawkins Brown, we experienced a slowdown for the first 3 weeks I think that was because the whole firm was finding their feet and figuring out what was going on. But as soon as the work picked up again, you know, I've been just as busy as I have been at the office.
But for people that like an hour commute, you know, they save 2 hours a day. Like
I have bought an incredibly expensive bicycle because I'm not going to use the Northern Line anymore. So actually, one of the reasons why I am looking forward to being back in the office is to try out my ridiculous new bicycle. So I am looking forward to going back for all sorts of different reasons. I think it will, but I think it will be better. I think we'll have some of the working from home mixed in with the studio environment. I think it's going to be great.
Are you back in now, Simon, or was it a one-off? Is it
no,
normal?
they just got me. They just asked me to go in and test this stuff that they'd set up and
to test out the meeting room that they replaced with your desk.
Yeah.
Are you expecting to go back full time at some point now? Or?
Not for a month or two, I don't think. Not
Right,
for a month or two. No.
Okay.
And of course, you know, they're figuring like upper management need to go in and have meetings, and perhaps part ones and part twos, they need a bit more supervision. You know,
there does seem to be this,
not because they're slacking off, but it's part of the contract is that, you know, when you join a big firm, that they help you, you know, they help you gain experience. And so they're really missing out on what part ones and part twos from years ago would have had. Same as school kids, you know, school kids are missing school massively.
I think it's a really difficult topic to talk about because obviously all throughout the world, you know, countries are experiencing different things. But, you know, there does seem to be this idea that, you know, if your work can be done at home, then, you know, you should stay at home as long as possible. And that is going to change the way that we conduct office work in the future.
Yeah. And then if you look about how many people are involved in, I'm not going to say exactly what everyone here and everyone that's watching does, but we all spend all day in front of a computer, basically, or we all spend a lot of time in front of a computer. And you can do that anywhere. And smart people figured this out 20 years ago, and they're on a beach with their computer or whatever they are. But you know, so I think the rest of us are catching up with those smart people that realize that this is what the new work. This is what
Nigel's doing VR. Look.
Yeah.
Shut up. It's Simon's saying in front of a computer. I was just going to post this and going right. You need to be a spider to look at all these different things.
You have to post it now, Nigel. Sorry. Go ahead, Simon. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It was just too funny to let slide.
One thing that going into the office that I miss is my massive screen, because I'm stuck on a laptop at the moment, and I have, my back is killing me because I'm kind of, it's not ideal working on a laptop. I'm remoting into my workstation in the office.
How do you find, is that remote desktop or is that TeamViewer or something? Or?
Well, I use a mixture. I've got a laptop, luckily, that can run Macs. So I try and do as much on it as I can. And then I drop my files into Dropbox, open them on my workstation through VPN and render at the office because I got the
It sounds like a bloody pain in the arse, mate. Honestly.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, it is. It is a pain in the arse, but, you know, it's working okay. It's working okay.
Oh, it's an interesting topic. I think everyone's sort of like this far in, sitting like this long, sitting at home, you know, dealing with moving files around and accessing stuff at work. Everyone's found their own system, you know. So, but this is another topic for conversation, I think.
Because that's it. That's the bits that's slowing me down. It's the moving files around. You know, everybody.
It's a team collaboration, you know. If you all need to be accessing the same files, then it's quite difficult. We're kind of descending into the kind of talk that we never wanted to have in a way.
I've loved it.
Couldn't you just remote into the screen then? You don't need to move any files. I mean,
yeah,
Zap, it's a great idea, but the remote desktop and TeamViewer all have their quirks and all sorts of stuff, you know.
There's a free thing called Parsec. It's actually intended for gaming, but that means it has a really high frame rate. And I had incredibly good. So it's called. You actually go to parsecgaming.com. Ignore the gaming. It's a desktop sharing tool, and I've used that since I'm a little backwards and I have everything here. So if I actually go to the office in Montreal, I actually remote into my machine here to do work.
That sounds amazing, Zap. You've got an answer for everything, haven't you?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, thank you. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Parsec Gaming. Okay, I've got that, Zap. I'll check that out tomorrow.
Because you get the frame rate. Yes, sometimes stuff go a little blurry if you're in the real high frame rates, but like you can run max on it easily, no problem remotely, no problem at all.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
If you have a decent bandwidth, though, I have a gigabit here in my house, so maybe I'm
That's
biased.
not the problem, Zap. You need a decent IT crew that won't mind you installing your own fancy software on your workstation. That's my problem.
Cool.
Well,
what shall we call it a night?
It was a good one. Thanks, Deyan, for your presentation.
It was fun.
as well.
Thank you, everyone. It was nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for surviving my crazy knife video.
I'll try your cocktails next time.
Yeah, distressed rhubarb.
The rhubarb mojito is actually really tasty. It's great, but you just basically make a mojito, but you put rhubarbs in it. That's kind of all you do. I just made a stupid version, and then I talked about knife because it's more hilarious that way.
With Sprite.
You can do whatever you want. I was just trying. I was trying to make it as funny as possible. That was my goal here.
It was a good video. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was. We aim to entertain. We aim to entertain.
Maybe Joshua.
Thank you, Zap.
We will share that on our social media channels tomorrow because the production value is top notch. It needs to be shown. There's an award in there somewhere.
Yeah, I spend a little too much time on that, I admit.
It was worth it.
And yeah, thank you everyone else as well.
Yes, thank you everyone.
Thank you, YouTubers. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yes, it was a good night. Thanks everyone.
Great to see everyone. Thank you.
Yes.
And we will see you all next month, same day. We've already got next month is organized, isn't it?
Almost,
Team?
yeah.
Yeah, we've got a cross section.
Who's announcing?
Next companies.
Who's saying who's coming on next week?
We won't announce it just yet, but
okay, sorry.
Oh,
My favorite part of the night. You know, we've got some really cool
just
stuff
waited
happening
the
next
whole
week.
night.
Well, come on, we know we've got amazing stuff coming, don't we? So,
do we have a second cocktail mixologist?
Are you asking me?
No, just the team.
Oh, okay.
Joshua, maybe you can present your bread making skills.
Maybe I can. Yeah.
Someone else. So if there's someone who's watching who wants to come on and make a cocktail with us, then get in touch.
I can show everyone how to make a Godfather, but I won't be much use for the rest of the evening. Oh, Nikos knows what that's all about. I can tell.
Come on, son. I think you've signed yourself up.
It's gonna take it's like 2 ingredients and ice. It's pretty easy.
That's fine. Keep it
it's almost as easy as the beer.
Right. Okay, folks. I'm gonna play out our end credits, and then we'll stay on to say our goodbyes. So say goodbye to everyone.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you very much for everything. See ya.
Thank you, Nigel.
Bye.
When can we talk?
Oh no.
My cat wants something. Just walked across in front of me. I'm ignoring. There you go.
Me too.
Here, smell my tail.
She's not. It's funny because she's not loving, and she's not very loving, and she never comes like in front. Gets on the desk or anything, but she really wants something right now, I guess.
You know, do you think it might be connected with the new dog then, Jason?
Oh, it definitely is. She does not like the